Now, what do you think is behind this UFO topic that the media is covering and yet laughs at a lot? Do you truly believe that some, or maybe even a majority of these, are extraterrestrial in nature, or have you?
I really believe that some of them are extraterrestrial in nature. I think it's arrogant to think that we're the only things out there in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And, to think that we're the most advanced is also a little crazy.
So, now let me ask you again, though. Do you think the majority of your cases are? I mean, do you think you're seeing evidence of an extraterrestrial in nature phenomena, or are you just collecting the data at this point and aren't sure?
I think that we are seeing a majority of them as being real sightings of real craft. It's always a little bit hard to tell because, unfortunately, with UFO reports, there's never been a live UFO report.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's always after the fact. So it makes the research a little bit more difficult in that case.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe that these people are seeing, what they believe to be a UFO. And in many cases, I believe it's probably explainable, but I don't believe that every case can be explained away so easily.
You said you've interviewed a lot of reputable people that have seen and possibly even documented this UFO activity. Do you sense any fear in them to really kind of come out in the wide public eye and say, hey, look, I've seen this is real?
Some of them, yes. A lot of people are very hesitant to report what they've seen because they know how people react often to calling people kooks if they see something, or just trying to debunk people for no reason at all. And so a lot of people who report things to us, sometimes they don't want to give their name, sometimes they don't want to give too much information. A lot of times that's what we're seeing.
And what small town did you mention that you're in?
I'm in Westport, Connecticut.
Westport, Connecticut. How far do you travel with your investigations?
Pretty far, actually. We've gone out of state a number of times, into New Jersey, into New York and Massachusetts. So, and we've gone all across Connecticut.
And so people can contact you at any time for help for any type of paranormal or any type of paranormal activity, whatever that might encompass.
And if we're unable to help because of distance or because of time, we have a very good network of people that we get in touch with. So we can always help people find someone.
Is this, if you don't mind me asking, is this something that you charge for, or can people just write in, or how does that work?
No, it's not. We've never actually charged for our investigations at all. I feel that it's a little bit difficult to charge for something that you may not be able to prove or disprove.
Mm-hmm.
So we've never charged for our investigations. We work strictly off of donations.
Fantastic. For those of you who are listening, if you've got something for Jon, or maybe just want to write in, visit him on the internet at www.sgra-media.org. You can surf while you're listening right there at blackvaultradio.com. Now, Jon, let me ask you, as we talked about briefly in the beginning of the show, you are a very young guy to be involved in this field, because this is a field of slightly older men and women, not old, but slightly older. And you're 27 years old, just like myself, and I see that you've got Nick Ressler on the SGRA staff, who's been a guest here on the Black Vault Radio, and also a topic of discussion because of his very cool gift that he gave me at MUFON. If you guys missed it, definitely go back a couple shows. I believe it was episode number 36 where I talked about that. But anyway, Jon, I wanted to ask you about youth in ufology and paranormal research. It is very much a rarity, and this is kind of a hot topic of debate in many ufological circles, if I could use that word. Why do you think that it is so rare that youths are not involved in the UFO/paranormal research?
Well, I think it takes a lot of work. That's one thing I've been experienced with, is the fact of how much work it actually takes to run an organization.
Mm-hmm.
And even just being involved in an organization as a young person, it does take a lot of work and a lot of dedication. So a lot of young people have, other things that they're keeping on their minds, other things that they're wanting to do. But I do think it's important that younger people get involved, because it's not something that, the older generation isn't going to be around forever, and somebody's going to need to take the torch soon.
And do you have fun? You obviously have fun with it. I don't even have to ask that, but you have a lot of fun with this.
Oh, yeah.
What is your greater goal? If somebody were curious about getting out there and investigating, I mean, what drives Jon Nowinski? What gets you out there to try and prove or disprove or just collect the data for this information? Because as you said, you may not be able to solve it. And that's kind of a frustrating thing for all of us because we don't have the answer. And yet we still get out there, and it still drives us to get out there and collect the data, spend the money, spend the time, run organizations as you're doing, and really invest part of your life and your pocketbook into this. What drives you?
Well, what drives me is just the fact that even if 95% of the cases reported can be explained, it still leaves a little bit that can't be explained. And, you know, a lot of people say, well, that's not all that much or that's not enough. But to somebody like me, that's all I need is that little percentage that can't be explained to keep me going.
And you feel you have that?
I do. I feel that over the years, the data that we've collected has proven that beyond a reasonable doubt that these phenomena do exist and these things do exist. And I think that that's enough to keep me going, and it's certainly enough to keep the other people involved in our organization going.
Now, let me ask you, I asked you this about your ghost research and investigations. What with UFOs has stuck out to you, if anything, that there's an overwhelming amount of evidence that can't be disproved, and you got to say, hey, skeptics, look at this case. And it could be an SGRA investigation, or it could be outside. But is there something that sticks out to you that people should look at?
Well, what sticks out to me are things like the Hudson Valley sightings and the Phoenix Lights, where there were hundreds of eyewitnesses that reported things, and there were photographs, and there were sketches, and there were, you know, mounds and mounds of evidence that something was there. And you have, you know, all this evidence that there was something there and something going on, and it's unexplained. It remains unexplained. And I think that, to me, that's really what shouts out that there's something going on here that we need to know about.
That is an interesting point that we have yet to talk about, is these cases with not one, two, or three witnesses, but hundreds, and in some cases, thousands of people that are seeing this thing. And with that being said, you can discredit any of the skeptics' arguments that it's a hallucination or a misidentification of something, that if you've got that many people seeing something, there's something there. What it is, it doesn't mean it's extraterrestrial, but there's something there. Do you see in your cases where you've got lots of different witnesses like that, maybe just not one or two?
Yeah, we do. And the cases that interest me most are the cases where we have, you know, two or three different witnesses from different areas that all saw the same thing. We had an investigation that we did about 2 years ago where we had three separate witnesses from separate areas of a town that all witnessed the same object in the sky. And so that was really interesting because these three people never met, didn't know each other, didn't talk at all, didn't even talk during our investigation. Yet they all reported similar things.
Mm-hmm. And that's always a fun and interesting find, especially for the UFO field. I'm not sure if you know this. I run the Black Vault Encyclopedia Project, which actually archives a bunch of articles and UFO case files and so on. And I've kind of joined hands in cyberspace, so to speak, with MUFON, and have been archiving a lot of their sightings, and actually came across something here in California where like 12 different people, which doesn't sound like a lot, but out of the people that saw a mysterious object in Orange County, California to report, which means there's probably 100 or 200 witnesses, because very rarely do people want to report it, let alone know how.
Right.
But all of these people who didn't know each other all went onto the MUFON site, and all from different parts of Orange County, California, which is a fairly large area, reported this UFO object. And there was an investigation done by MUFON. I wrote in and told them, I said, look, I'm seeing a huge jump of sightings on this one particular day. At this one particular time, everybody saw the same object. And they did this huge investigation. My point is that this collaboration between organizations like you're doing is absolutely critical. But on top of that, when you've got multiple witnesses to the same object, that's huge.